Answer me honestly. That's how it always begins, not loud, not aggressive, not even suspicious, just a simple question, delivered calmly. But in that moment, something shifts, because you're no longer in a conversation, you're in a test. And the dangerous part is you don't even realize it. Some questions are not designed to get information. They are designed to read you, to measure how you think, how you react, how quickly you lose control. And most people fail, not because they're wrong, but because they answer without awareness. They rush, they try to sound good, they try to be understood. And in those few seconds, and they reveal everything, their uncertainty, their need for approval, their lack of position. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He knew that power is not taken in loud moments, and it is taken quietly. When people are speaking freely, it was without control, without strategy. Because once people understand you too easily, they stop respecting you. Once your answers become predictable, you become easy to place. And once you are placed, you are limited. That is the real danger. Not the question itself, but what your answer silently communicates. In this video, you're going to see 5 questions you must answer carefully. Not because they are difficult, but because they are deceptive. They look normal, they feel harmless, but each one carries a hidden intention. To test your confidence, to challenge your position, to see how easily you give yourself away. And if you answer them the wrong way, no one will confront you, no one will correct you, they will simply adjust how they see you, lower, quieter, less important. And if you want to understand how control actually works, not in theory, but in real conversations, subscribe. Because once you see this, you won't answer people the same way again. You think you're talking. You're not. You're being evaluated. Every question that reaches you, no matter how casual it sounds, is part of a silent decision someone is making about you, not later, right there, in real time. Keep, ignore, respect, use. These decisions are not announced. No one tells you, you just lost status. You just lowered your value. They simply adjust. Their tone changes, their attention shifts, their respect fades quietly. And you're left wondering what happened. That's the hidden game. It doesn't need conflict, it doesn't need confrontation. It works through impressions, through small signals, how quickly you answer, how much you reveal, how easily you react. That's all it takes. Because people are not analyzing you logically. They are reading you instinctively. And instinct doesn't wait for evidence. It reacts to energy, to certainty, or the lack of it. Machiavelli understood something most people still ignore. Power is decided before outcomes, before success, before results. It is decided in moments like these, when nothing important seems to be happening. A question is asked, you respond, and in that response, though your position is either strengthened or quietly reduced. This is why careless honesty is dangerous. Not because honesty is wrong, but because unguarded honesty exposes your level too quickly. It removes mystery, it removes tension, it removes control. And once control is gone, you don't get to decide how people see you anymore. They decide for you. And then once they do, changing that perception becomes a fight you didn't even know you started. That is the reality you're already in, whether you see it or not. Every conversation is a small negotiation of power, and every answer is a signal you send about who you are and where you belong. It sounds simple, almost polite. What do you do? But this is one of the fastest judgments people make about you, not in minutes, in seconds. And once that judgment is made, it rarely changes. Because people are not asking for information. They're searching for a category, something they can place you into quickly. Important, average, forgettable. And most people make it easy for them. They respond like a report. I work here. I do this. I've been doing. Flat answers. Predictable structure, no weight. And the moment you sound predictable, you lose control of perception, because predictability signals one thing: you are already understood, and what is fully understood, Anno, is rarely respected. Machiavelli would never allow himself to be reduced so quickly, because he knew the first impression is not about truth, it's about positioning. When you answer this question carelessly, you hand people a finished version of yourself, neat, defined, limited. But powerful people never give you the full picture. They create space. They leave something unsaid, because space creates curiosity, and curiosity keeps you relevant. Instead of listing what you do, they shape how they are seen. They speak with direction, with intent, not details, but presence. Because the moment you start explaining too much, you start lowering your value. You sound like you're trying to justify your place, and justification always feels like weakness. The rule here is precise. Never answer in a way that allows someone to fully measure you immediately. Let them think. Let them wonder. Let them feel there's more beneath the surface, because once people feel they've figured you out, they stop paying attention. And in a world built on perception, being ignored is the fastest way to disappear. This question rarely comes directly. It hides behind a smile, behind casual tone, behind words that sound harmless. Still working on it? Not there yet? Taking longer than expected? But beneath it, there's something sharper. Doubt. Not loud, not aggressive, but present. And the moment you hear it, you feel it. A subtle pressure. A need to respond, to explain, to defend. And this is where most people lose control. They start justifying. They talk about timing, circumstances, delays, obstacles. They try to sound reasonable. But in doing so, they accept the frame. They accept that they are behind, that they owe an explanation, that their position needs validation. And once you accept that frame, you've already lowered yourself. Machiavelli would never step into that trap, because he understood something critical. The person who explains is already on the defensive, and the defensive position is always weaker. It doesn't matter how logical your explanation is. It doesn't matter how valid your reasons are. What matters is how it feels to the person listening. And explanation never feels like power. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like someone trying to maintain their position instead of owning it. And the powerful move is different. You don't rush to answer. You don't fill the silence. You don't react emotionally. You stay composed, measured, unshaken, because certainty does not argue for itself. It doesn't justify timelines. It doesn't seek approval. It simply exists. And that's what people respect. Not your progress, not your excuses, your control. So the rule is cold, but necessary. The moment you feel the need to explain your path, pause. Because that feeling, that urge to defend is exactly where your position begins to shrink. And once it shrinks, people don't push you down. They just stop seeing you as someone who stands above. This question doesn't test your skill. It tests your state. Can you handle this? Simple words, but heavy. Because in that moment, people are not looking at what you can do, and they're watching how you hold yourself under pressure. And pressure changes everything. It tightens your voice, speeds up your thinking, pushes you to prove something quickly. That's where most people fail. They rush to answer. They over-explain. They try to sound capable. And in doing so, you'll know that they reveal tension. And tension is dangerous. Because tension signals uncertainty. Even if you are capable, if you look unstable, people won't trust you. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Power is not proven through effort. It is felt through control. The strongest position is not the one that speaks the most. It's the one that looks the most settled. Because people don't follow ability. They follow certainty. And certainty has a very specific presence. It doesn't rush. It doesn't react, it doesn't try to convince. It holds. Calm, direct, unshaken. And when someone asks you this question, they are watching for one thing. Do you remain stable, or do you shift? Most people shift. Their tone changes. Their posture changes. Their words become heavier. And in that shift, they lose authority. The powerful move is precise. You don't overanswer. You don't fill the moment. You respond in a way that feels already decided, not hopeful, not defensive, expected. Because expectation signals control. It tells people, this outcome is not uncertain to me. And that changes everything. The rule is simple, but unforgiving. If your answer carries tension, it weakens you. If your answer carries calm certainty, it places you above the question itself. And once you're above the question, people stop testing you. They start trusting your position without needing proof. And this is where most people collapse without realizing it. Why should I trust you? It sounds direct, almost fair, but it's not a request. It's pressure. Because the moment this question is asked, you are being pulled into a weaker position, a position where you feel the need to prove yourself. And that feeling, when is dangerous. Most people respond emotionally. They try to sound sincere. They list their intentions. They explain their loyalty. I'm honest. I would never. You can trust me because. And the more they speak, the more they expose something they don't see. Need. The need to be believed. The need to be accepted. And need always lowers your value. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Trust is never given to those who ask for it. It is given to those who don't need to explain it. Because explanation creates doubt. And if you were truly stable, truly consistent, truly reliable, your presence would already communicate it. Your behavior would already show it. You wouldn't need to convince. And people feel that difference instantly. That's why powerful individuals don't chase trust. They build patterns. Quietly. Consistently. They say less, but their actions repeat. And repetition creates belief. Not words. Words can be crafted. Words can be faked. But patterns are harder to manipulate. That's what people rely on. So when this question appears, you don't rush into proving yourself. You don't fill the silence with promises. You stay controlled, measured, because the moment you start convincing, you lose leverage. The rule is cold, but precise. If someone needs you to prove your trustworthiness in words, they've already decided not to trust you. And trying to change that in the moment only confirms their doubt. Power is different. Power lets people observe, and what they observe, they decide on their own. That's the only kind of trust that lasts. This question looks harmless, almost casual. What do you think about them? But this is one of the most dangerous traps in conversation, because it doesn't test your opinion. It tests your control, your loyalty, your discipline, your awareness of consequences, and most people fail instantly. They speak freely, they share thoughts. They give honest reactions. They think they're just participating, but they're actually exposing themselves, because the moment you speak openly about someone else, you reveal how safe you are, or how risky you are to keep around. Say something negative. You look like someone who talks behind backs. You say too much. You look careless. Say something overly positive. You look weak or dishonest. There is no safe ground here, unless you understand the game. Machiavelli was precise about this. Loose words create future problems, not immediately but later. Because people remember what you say, especially when it involves others. And at the right moment, those words come back, reframed, repeated, used against you. That's how reputations quietly collapse. Not through actions, but through conversations you thought were harmless. The powerful move is different. You don't give people material. You don't become predictable. You respond. Without revealing your full position. Measured, controlled, intentional. Because control is not silence. It's precision. You say enough to respond, but never enough to be used, and that requires discipline, and the discipline to resist the urge to speak freely, the discipline to stay aware, even in relaxed moments. Because the biggest mistakes are not made in tension, they're made in comfort. The rule is sharp. The more freely you speak about others, the less safe you become. And once people see you as unsafe, they don't confront you. They distance from you, quietly. And in the world of power, being quietly removed is the end you never see coming. Most people walk through conversation like nothing is happening. They speak freely, they answer quickly, they react without thinking. And then they wonder, why they are not taken seriously, why respect feels inconsistent, why certain people rise above them without saying much at all. Because what they fail to see is simple. Every conversation is a quiet negotiation of power. No noise, no warning. It's just decisions being made in real time, where you stand, how you're perceived, what level you belong to. And those decisions are not made by your intentions. They are made by your control, by how you respond when tested, by how much you reveal when pressed, by how stable you remain when others are watching. Machiavelli didn't teach people to dominate conversations. He taught them something far more dangerous: to never lose control inside them. Because once you lose control of your words, you lose control of your image. And once your image slips, people don't need proof. They adjust instantly. They speak to you differently. They listen to you less. They stop considering you without ever telling you why. That's how power is lost. Not in one moment, but in small, unnoticed answers, repeated over time. A careless sentence here, and an unnecessary explanation there. Until one day, you realize people no longer see you the same way, and by then, you're not correcting a mistake. You're fighting a perception that's already settled. But the moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop giving away pieces of yourself just to feel understood. Instead, you become deliberate, measured, controlled. You answer with intention. You speak with precision. And most importantly, you learn when not to give everything away, because power is not built by being open. It's built by being selective. Selective with your words, selective with your responses, selective with what people are allowed to see. And once you operate like that, something shifts. People hesitate around you. They listen more carefully. They question you less. And because you no longer feel easy to define. And what people cannot easily define, they naturally respect. This is not about manipulation. This is about awareness, about understanding the invisible layer of every interaction, and choosing not to be careless inside it. So the next time someone asks you a question, pause, not because you don't know the answer, but because you understand what's really being asked. And in that pause, you take back control. If you want to operate at that level, subscribe, because this is not about speaking better. It's about making sure every word you speak raises your position and never lowers it again.